The January 21st Parks and Recreation Commission regular meeting to order. I'll call to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Mattson, Commissioner Eckert,
Here.
Commissioner Moorhead,
Here.
Commissioner Tyson,
Here.
Commissioner Herdina,
Here.
Commissioner Gary, Commissioner Lenmark.
Here.
All right. Commissioner Gary absent. And heads. If you're able, please join us and stand and for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item, approve the agenda.
So moved.
Aaron moves. Aaron second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Open forum. I do believe we have some.
We have, one, I believe. Yep, you're good in that.
Welcome, just for the record, your name and address, please.
Lynette Lanasa, 1276 4th Street, Southeast, Forest Lake.
Thank you.
And I'm here to address you today. I know that the topic of the dog park is up on your agenda tonight. And I am a dog owner and one that walks the streets of Forest Lake on a regular basis, daily. And in the parks program as well. I live not too far from Beltz Park, so keep a good eye on that park for you anyway. And of course, interact with dogs on a pretty regular basis. So my opportunity to come here is just to share with you that I think a dog park is well needed. I've been saying that for a long time, along with, it's great to have at the parks at least one or two of the doggy, bags. I do carry my own, but not everybody does, and so once in a blue moon, I forget, and so it's just nice to have those available. But on the bigger scope of things, we do have it does happen on a fairly often. Folks use the park and let their dog run loose because they want to, right? And so I keep my dog leashed, and they do not, and so that puts me at a disadvantage because the dog who is loose. And so from that perspective, I think a dog park is really necessary. And I do think that maybe there's been some conversation about the size of a dog park. And I guess from my perspective, anything is better than nothing. Just because we do have folks that are using the city parks as dog parks and letting them run loose. And so I do think that if we do have the opportunity to edge out some space for a dog park in Forest Lake with the size of our community, it's definitely a necessity. And so that's what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out on a stormy night. Anybody else? Open forum. Alrighty. We'll move to item 6, approve meeting minutes from December 17th. Any corrections to the minutes? Take a motion. Melissa makes a motion.
I'll second.
Sue seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Kyle, Veterans Memorial Grant Agreement.
And so as mentioned in previous meetings, staff had worked with the local Veterans Memorial Committee to get started the last big piece of the Veterans Memorial Project. And staff had filled out paperwork for a Minnesota Historical Society grant and was awarded that grant to start here January 1. So this is a grant that is going to be broken up over 2 years and ultimately pay 100% of the bronze memorial sculpture that will end up getting plopped on top of that site down at Lakeside. So in the attachment, you can just see this is very typical grant agreements. There's nothing too strange there or something that we. So it's very basic. Just very basic agreement. So just overall gives us all the layout of what's expectations, and then we obviously need to agree to this to be able to receive the $210,000.
Okay, is there any questions? You see the recommendation in the memo Kyle put together for a motion if there is no questions.
thank you for the staff, and I think it was mostly Kyle maybe that did the grant, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wrote the grant on behalf of the Memorial Committee. We did meet a couple different times to get all the language and kind of took some information from the artists as well. And we have Mark with the Memorial Committee who was one of them that provided information on the questions. But yeah, staff spent probably about 30 hours writing everything up, working with the Historical Society back and forth. But yeah, certainly a collaborative effort, so.
Gratitude to the staff, I'll make a motion that we,
Okay, so the motion, Karen, will be motion to recommend city council approval of the proposed Minnesota Historical Society grant agreement.
that's what I was gonna say.
That's, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Aaron. All in favor? Aye. Aye. So, yes, thanks again, Kyle, for the staff work and everybody's work on that. All right. Next, we have the Veterans Memorial Sculpture Agreement.
So to piggyback off the grant, obviously we have been awarded the $210,000 and now the fun part begins where we get to spend the $210,000. So the Veterans Memorial Committee had done some legwork prior to receiving the grant with the anticipation of this part of the project happening. It was always a part of the plan of the site, but it was just going to be a challenge of getting the funding. So in doing the project that's already taken place, staff has had to work with the engineers to come up with a plan for how much weight's going to be put on the base and a lot of engineer talk about making sure there's enough support there for a sculpture of this scope. So really, it was kind of one of those things where we knew we didn't have the funding for the sculpture, but in order to get the work done that we already have funding for, we needed to create the sculpture to understand how big it is, how much it weighs, so then we have the footings and structure in place for when the sculpture does come. And then in doing that, Mark, who was here with the Veterans Memorial Committee, I believe was kind of the legwork person to go out and seek the artist that could do the sculpture that the Veterans Memorial Committee was seeking. Had to go through a selection process of narrowing down options, and there was kind of some changes along the way, but ultimately we narrowed it down to 2 artists that could really provide the bronze sculpture that the Vet Memorial Committee was looking for. And through some interview process and kind of vetting out details, there was an artist group that was selected to do the bronze sculpture. That was done prior to being awarded the grant, and that's all fine. That was just kind of getting some of that pre-work done. So then when we are getting this grant, a lot of that work's already in place. We have artists selected that will do it. And they're actually here tonight as well, as with Mark, to just kind of introduce themselves. And this is a agreement that staff and the artists group had worked on together, and then city attorney ultimately drafted the agreement. So it is something that it's our city attorney reviewed it. The artist group is here to kind of introduce themselves and then just give a background and show some of their work here for us tonight. And then again, just look to finalize this agreement to start moving forward with that project. So I'll turn it over to Linda, Pat, and Nick with Blue Ribbon.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. I'm
Absolutely.
Linda. I'm here with my artistic team, Pat and Nick. Pat's my husband, and Nick is the owner and operator of Blue Ribbon Bronze Foundry. That's very exciting. So we're really happy to be with you guys this evening to talk to you a little bit about our background. Nick is going to walk you through the process that we use to actually make a bronze sculpture. Lots of people don't know how that works, so hopefully you find it interesting. And then I think you'll really enjoy seeing a design review. So you're going to get an opportunity to see where we're at with the sculpture right now. We've got a small one, it's about 2 feet tall, and you're going to see some pictures of that. So my husband Pat and I are both veterans of the US Air Force, and Nick is a real veteran sculptor. He's been making bronze sculpture for over 50 years. My husband Pat and I joined Nick's team just before the pandemic, so about 6 years ago. And for the last 6 years as a team, we've been making bronze sculpture for both public works and for private clients. So Nick is going to walk you through the process, how this actually happens. And we're going to use as an example this gigantic bulldog that we did for UMD.
Thanks, Linda.
Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to point out Linda was not the model for the Bulldog, so in case there's any confusion on that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. We did make a model using the logo that Duluth has, University of Minnesota Duluth has been following for quite some time, but we had to three-dimensionalize it, and I wanted to be able to show the college what the model, what the larger piece would be like. So creating a model is very helpful for both the artist as well as the client. It's nice to be able to see something in a fully three-dimensionalized form. Every sculpture starts on a large scale with an armature, typically made out of rebar and aluminum wire. And we create this structure because the clay will not hold up on its own, especially when it comes down to little ankles. So this piece was then, once the armature was built, the clay was started to apply over the armature. And this is all water-based clay, so that has to be kept wet and wrapped up every day until the piece is finished and ready to move on to the next step. Once it's approved, we start making molds. And these are similar to if you broke your leg and you got a plaster cast over your leg. We divide this up into sections so that the form is released, the mold is released from the clay, and then we put it back together to create wax. And we're going to use the lost wax casting process. And I've explained this process most of my life. I don't expect anybody to understand it, so I'm sorry. The first time I did the process, I held my casting in my hand. I had done every step, and I couldn't figure out how I'd gotten it hollow. So again, if I didn't understand, I didn't expect anybody to understand it. I'll explain it very simply. It has to be in wax because we're going to take something that's flammable, in this case, the shape of our sculpture, and we're going to encase it in a fireproof material and then bake out the wax. And that's going to leave a very space, a small and intricate space that we're going to then melt bronze and pour it into that space. And so if we were just making teeth, you know, you make a wax tooth, encase it, and then pour gold in there and you pop out your gold tooth. And that would cost a lot more because that's a dentist. But here we're pouring wax into the mold and we pop the waxes out of the mold and then move on to the next mold process, which is where the casting takes place. That's an investment mold. And that requires a kind of intricate network of arteries and veins. That red wax rods that you see, that'll be the pathway that the bronze will flow through. And the mixture that we use is standard plaster investment. We're pouring that around the wax. It not only, oh, and look, that's actually a movie, that's cool. So it fills up, it goes around the outside and fills up the inside as well, because these are all hollow waxes. We could never pour an object much bigger than an inch thick. There's just too much shrinkage. We have a kiln, and it's got a big cart, and we'll load up the kiln and bake these molds at 1200 degrees for 24 hours. And you don't want to see my cookies either when they're done. But that way the wax is removed, but also all the chemical moisture, because bronze at 2000 degrees, if it hits even the trace of chemical moisture, it'll blow up. Then the bronze is heated to 2000 degrees, and we pour that bronze off into the molds. The cups, you can see, get dark pretty quick. And as soon as they're dark, we take them outside and break them open. And I usually tell people that the casting moment is the halfway point in the process. There's still a great deal of work to be done in the finishing. And so you release the castings from the molds. You have to take the core out from the inside. You start that's the fun part right there. You really start swinging at it. Don't we look so busy? Why do I do this job? This looks like a lot of work.
Oh, it is.
And then the pieces are done, I mean, we're going to cast this in multiple pieces so that they're easy enough for us to pick up and handle. And eventually it all has to be assembled. So you can see there's a lot of fitting work that goes on and a lot of welding. And all the welds are then ground back so that you can't see where the pieces have gone together. And the last step is the patina work, the metal coloring, which is basically oxidation. It's like rust on steel, except here we're heating up the surface and applying chemicals that transfer electrons to the surface. Ooh, look at this. Power tools.
It's amazing.
Then we also put on a spray lacquer. This serves a couple of purposes. It keeps the patina at that level and at that color for a prolonged period of time. Bronze, you can't stop oxidation from happening, but this will certainly slow it down. It also provides a barrier, a sacrificial barrier for if somebody comes up and spray paints your piece or something like that. You can remove the paint, just reapply the lacquer, and you haven't really damaged the piece in any way, shape, or form. And the fun part, installation day, it's always a difficult task to pick up a heavy object and set it down and make it last forever in its location. And here you can see all the pins underneath the feet of our bulldog, and anchored down with epoxy in this case, or did we use expansion cement? Either one. Try to design these things. I always tell people to withstand an act of God like a tornado, but not an act of stupidity. You can't prevent idiots from coming up and doing damage, but you can do an awful lot to make sure that they'll withstand any kind of storms or natural events. Oh, there it comes down. And it really should not take that long to install this piece. We'll bring it up and lift it up into place and have corresponding holes drilled. There'll be large pins on this piece. And now I'll turn it back to Linda, who's going to talk about the design. Or do you have any questions on the process?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is where we're at so far on the design. You can see it looks a little bit different than the version that is on the brochures and in the video that the city did. The main difference, of course, is the size of the eagle, a lot more prominent here. The shape of the thing the eagle is on is different. We made some changes to the figures because we wanted to create a narrative where you can see the female soldier is like just coming home from a deployment, so it looks like one of those, reunion videos that we've all seen on TV, she's being reunited with her daughter, just as the male soldier is kind of like suited up, ready to go on his deployment. So that's sort of the narrative we wanted to create. You can see the eagle's feathers are really pushing against those collapsing walls, so you really get a feel of, kind of this representation of the strength of the nation holding up these collapsing walls. So we've been working really closely with the design committee, and we think we're almost there. There's a couple little details that we're going to work through still, but our plan is to bring this maquette, this small model, it's about this big, we'll bring that to the city council meeting. So we'll have that on hand. And that's what we've got for you. If any of you have any questions, we are here to address anything you might want to have.
Any questions or comments, members?
Totally amazing.
Yeah, the design's awesome. Yeah.
Mine's beautiful. Really love it.
Thanks.
Can you, so it's 7 foot, right, from
Right,
the
yeah.
actual bronze sculpture?
Yeah, so in the finished full size of this thing, it'll be 7 feet from the base. So, if you're on the ground looking up, it'll be 9 feet up, because the base is 2 feet. And then it'll be, those walls are 5 feet wide and then like 6 feet deep, so the space where the eagle is down at the bottom is 6 feet. So it's gonna be big.
And I'm
Karen?
glad that Mark is here because we certainly are thankful for him. I think he was the original designer. And this looks very similar. We still have a male and a female, which is good.
Yeah.
I worry about that little eagle in the middle. But we can't stop everybody from causing trouble, but
It'll be
it's
super
close to what it
secure.
was, for sure. Mr. Fitterman, it's pretty close to the original.
It's constantly evolving. By the time you get the grown-up version, it's full scale, it's evolving even more. So that's the thing about art, art evolves as you're creating it. So it's going to be better than this.
We thank you for starting it because that was the original plan.
Thanks.
All right, we need a motion to recommend city council approval of the proposed agreement. Karen moves.
I'll second.
Sue seconds. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right. If you need any help with the sledgehammers, Dave and Kyle know how to use one.
Everybody should come to at least 1/4.
Be great to see, but no, thank you for coming out tonight. It was excellent. Thanks for your work. All righty. Next item is Castlewood 2026 fees.
Just pulling up some notes here really quick. So, with the Castlewood, obviously, I think most, the commission probably remembers that for some, there's that golf management that operates at Castlewood. We do every year expect them to propose changes as needed, for the fee schedule, which council does have to approve. So just as you read in the report there, that there are some increases. And, the increases are pretty minimal. Really what it is, it's what they consider green fees. So basically, if you go out there and you golf, you're using the tee boxes and just the general course. And really if you were just to drop by and go golf, it's $1 more for that round. And then what you'll see is the season pass, that price has gone up, basically between $30 and $35 for the season pass. And that's just based on, typically, the season pass, they golf about 30 to 35 rounds. So the foursome try to manage and balance that increase of $1 per round into that season pass of people typically golf 30 to 35 rounds. So the increases that we're seeing are very minimal. It's really to keep up with staff costs. They have great retention there, which is a good thing. But with that, you try to incentivize people to stay, and you might pay them $1 more an hour or something like that. So those fees kind of are incorporated in that, along with just the tee usage, so the tee box usage. So nothing crazy here, but just the going through their steps of having to get this approved by council to have these fees. So just open it up for discussions. If you guys have any questions, I have some answers if you need them.
I do notice the junior fee stays the same, which, that course that's a big attraction for the juniors.
So, yep.
Okay. Any questions, comments from members?
I personally,
Somebody like to make a motion to recommend approval of the 2026 Castlewood fees proposed by foursome? Right. Melissa makes that motion.
I second.
Sue seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. See, Karen, we're getting motions to the left today.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
They've been good ones.
All righty. Item 10, dog park.
I think this one's going to be the hot ticket item, right? So obviously, December meeting, we had some good discussions about dog parks in Forest Lake. And certainly, there's enough reason to believe that there's a demand for dog park. There's a lot of information out there from folks in the past master plan that really wanted a dog park, along with current residents. But really, what we want to do is establish a plan and give this commission a chance to discuss some topics. Maybe if you've done some research yourselves now since that last meeting, or just have had conversations with folks to see, does this commission agree, with pushing the dog park? Just kind of knowing what you know now from that December meeting. There are people, again, that want that, but just want to open it up to discuss. And really tonight is just to stay high level, discuss, do we want that? Maybe some questions the commission would like to see staff get some information back for February, but we're not going to necessarily go into the weeds of planning one. Certainly we might, if the commission decides we do want to move forward with having a dog park, we could just ask for some recommendations. But to start, just a general conversation about your thoughts on a dog park.
Karen?
Start, because one of those rare things that I have to admit is that I made a mistake. And tonight's one of those things, and don't write that down. It's not gonna happen again.
It's in the minutes now.
It's on tape, Karen.
But, you know, I'm not acreage person, and so 3 acres in a park I thought sounded pretty small, especially with the help we had from a citizen showing us how many larger parks there are. So my mind went to, we don't want to have such a small one that we're going to be wishing we had made it bigger. But Commissioner Gary, who isn't here today, and I don't know if you have the pictures that you can show up here, sent me a note from Florida. Yeah, he had showed me the size of a dog park that they have there. And I was just blown away with how wrong I was with size. Again, you've heard conversation, we don't make it too small, but on the other hand, we don't want to have something that we're not going to be able to get done either. So this pictures show a 1-point-something acre. And they had 17 dogs there that day and 11 adults. And I just thought to myself, wow, I got to forget that 3-acre thing. I don't know that we need a 3-acre.
I think for,
Believed it last time.
I think for a visual, easiest for me to grapple is 1 acre is the size of a football field.
Oh,
So if you think a 3-acre football field, 3-acre dog park is 3 football fields. So
didn't realize that.
that's a visual that
He went according to lot sizes, and he was showing me how many lots it would take to make the 3 acres, and I just went, wow, this is something we have to hold back on. Granted, there maybe are larger ones, but I do think with our community that it would be an okay thing. Then my second point was I wanted it to be where everybody chooses to have their walking dogs over off of 202. I was firmly committed in my mind then that that would be the ideal spot. They're already using it with their dogs, and it's an open space. But then I found out that the airport has some sort of a rule that you can't congregate people. They can walk there, but you can't congregate. We would be doing, not many, I would like to still argue with the airport, but, you know, some people would sit there. I guess they call that congregating. So I would ask for some recommendation on, is that true, or what we can do? So that's my thought. I still think we badly need one. I'd like to start soon. Size would be
Okay.
different. And
so we go back to the location.
Yeah,
where the,
location.
Sue, Sue, go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, so do we revert back to the new public works location? That's 3 acres, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say how Tim Gary had sent these, another good point of reference is Beltz Park. Beltz Park is 2.8 acres.
Yeah.
So if you think of that size, that's what 3 acres would be for us. The size that was, I think it was 2.6 some acres. So relatively basically the same size as Beltz Park would be what was proposed.
It's a little different perspective on it for me.
And
Sometimes it's probably myself and Kyle's fault. We know what 3 acres is.
Yeah.
Probably didn't say that well enough to give you something to compare that to, where when three does, if you just hear 3, it sounds small, but it's quite a big space.
I think one thing too is, you know, we don't necessarily tonight have to come back to a spot, and I will, you know, with Steve coming to that last meeting, I think there's a good idea to vet out other spaces too and just say, hey, what's available? The biggest thing is, what's gonna get a dog park soonest is certainly a item we should discuss, but it's something that, you know, it's always a great, I mean, right, the bigger the better, right? We all want that, but we also have to say what comes with that, what costs are associated, and what space do we have to give. So certainly, I think it's fair to say we want to do a lot of research, and if there's some space that works that are larger, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but appreciate the, conversation. So keep that going and keep that in mind.
So go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, say we went with the one that was proposed before, as that's a stepping stone, right? Because we don't know what the attendance gonna be. Is there gonna be a congestion issue and all of that? It might turn out no issue, but if it does, would there be an option down the road as far as the parks plan to do 2 separate parks? So maybe a small breed park and a large breed park. You know, if I'm bringing a big Great Dane to go run, you know, it's probably better he's not running around a bunch of little dachshunds and beagles.
So since the,
I did have one thing to say.
Sure.
That was the placement, and I get that the airport has that reason, and that was talked about, but that's like crash zone or whatever. But having it somewhere where people could walk to it would be nice, and that's the one drawback I see to the environmental center is you have to drive there. You really can't walk there unless we're planning on, that's the one drawback.
The Public Works site or proposed will connect the Hardwood Creek or the trail on Headwaters. There'll be a north-south trail that'll go up to 202, which then will connect to Goodview and all. So it'll connect that loop of trails. So you'll be able to cross that Headwaters hour at 202nd. It'll get you all the way west and go north. As part of the Public Works plan, and it's our kind of our rule that we have to extend pedestrian facilities when we create those roads.
so as Kyle said, some high-level thoughts today on where we're at. And Karen, appreciate your comments too on the from last meeting. I think it's safe to say that you aren't going to find probably an issue for this commission there. People feel so strongly on both sides of this issue when dogs are involved, right? And I've been a dog owner for 30 years, except for the last couple of years, so I love dogs. And I certainly see the need for a dog park, but I think there's some things we need to think about before we say, let's charge ahead. First of all, there's not agreement that dog parks are good for dogs. I found a 2020 study that shows that 80% of the dog parks have diseases from all the fecal matter. And 1 in 5 dogs that was tested across the country had parasites in them. And so there's not agreement that dog parks are the best thing for dogs. Dog fights are going to happen. We're not going to control that. You heard the lady earlier in not even a dog park that's going to happen, and Beltz, that's going to happen. We just have to be aware of that. But I think the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, and I think we should have staff look at it, is what are the costs of this park? For example, 1 acre of fence is going to be $25,000. So we can do the math if it's a 3 acre, 10 acre, and that's just the fencing of alone. But what are the rules going to be? Looking at other parks, some require that the dogs are immunized, aren't in heat, so forth, but then who's going to enforce that? So I think there's some research that has to be done before we get into this. If we just suddenly fence up an area and let people start bringing dogs there, we're going to have problems without thinking this through. And then there's the other issue, is that there are parks that actually are considering, Carver County is one of them, shutting down their dog park, because the reality is people say they're picking up the fecal matter, but they're not. And now we're looking at public works staff out there doing that, or what. So thinking through what the rules are going to be, how this is going to work, I think there's agreement to have a dog park, but I think taking a step back, having staff take some time to think these things through, do some research, what are the rules going to be, and then it's going to be easiest to put some parameters of what we're looking for a site, whether it's the public works site or whatever, and move forward. But I think to say right now, let's build a park, let's use the public works site, I think there's some issues and policy issues we should think through first before we jump ahead on it.
Some of that, not much, because, there's always going to be reasons why not to do something, but living here in this community and talking to people, and I not have a dog, they've been waiting and waiting for a dog park, and they don't see those surveys. Judge Judy has all the time, if you watch it about problems, there's problems all over, and I think we have to be good about knowing that and researching it and have answers. I almost heard a hold back time, and I'm not at Rotary when 3 of the students came from the high school. What do you guys think about a dog park? Oh, one of them said, my mother would do anything to get a dog park. She goes down to White Bear. So the other guy said, what about you? And he says, my aunt would be here in a second. We've been waiting and waiting for a dog park. So while I think there's issues, I don't want to say tonight yes or no to the site that was presented.
Yep.
Right now I'm a little negative on that, but not 100%. I've learned now I have to. But I'm really not in the mood to step back and have this go into research mode, and who knows we've got people excited now that Chamber came. I think we have to keep at it and don't let.
No, I appreciate that. Recognizing it's January and the dog park's in the 2027 CIP. So the dog part is not in this year's CIP. So we've got a whole, I should, step back is the wrong word. I think we have to do due diligence and be responsible, not just, let's just jump into something. What are the policies, the city ordinances are gonna be? Because you know we're gonna have issues. And Karen, I don't wanna see people here saying, hey, you built a dog park and what are the rules and this is a problem. And now we have a problem. We've got time. This is not in the CIP for this year, it's in 2027. So step back's the wrong word. Let's just do our due diligence over the next year. And then we're ready to roll in 2027 and put a dog park in place.
I was just gonna say, like, you're concerned with, like, people not picking up, you got fecal matter all over the place. I mean, technology is a great thing these days. We have cameras that you can use. You can have depends on how the city wants to go about it, you can have kind of the wall of shame. You can get really good pictures of people having their animals do what they're doing and just walking away and say.
And that's my point exactly, Aaron, is that we need to think this through. What are we gonna do? Cameras and other things cost money and also just privacy issues. So if we don't think through how this dog park is gonna operate, we're not doing our job, I would just say. Go ahead, Karen.
Can we at least start looking at different areas? I mean, I think you needed to know soon whether or not that would be included in the public works or not. And I had heard last time that there wasn't a lot of love for that space. But can we at least start looking at a space so that we can keep the.
I think, yeah, as far as what we were here last month to talk about, getting in the planning, I think that's kind of come and gone. That doesn't mean that site's gone necessarily. It just means that it's, that discussion during building talk has already kind of moved on. The biggest thing tonight would be to just make sure that this commission, is interested, majority of this commission's interested in a dog park. And then we can, as staff, start to do that research and bring things back. You know, it could be back on the agenda 2-3 more times in the next 3-4 months and just say, here's some things we found out. So it's really tonight is just to say, is this commission in favor of pursuing the dog park, seeing that it's in the 27 CIP? Just because like that's why we wanted to bring it back here, to make sure that you guys thought that there was a need for it and are hearing that too. So really tonight, give us we're interested in seeing a dog park go up, and then we don't have to have a hard deadline of by March we have to have it planned. It can just be throughout the year we piece this thing together as we responsibly put together what policies would look like, and then certainly at some point can bring back the where, how many acres and expenses and all that. So.
Let it be planned at that was the best place for it. I just don't want to rush and put it somewhere. And one last thing about dog parks. Everywhere you go, they should be on a leash. Not on a leash, that's not really awful, but.
I think we've had the most community engagement about the dog park. In my time on the commission, I've heard more about dog parks than I've heard about anything else. So I think we definitely need one, but I do kind of side with you. We need to make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
We've been talking about it since 2013. So we have a lot of time of talking about it, and now I just don't like to see pushing it back. I'd like to see as much possible to put as much time in as they have to keep it. It's gonna happen.
No, I'm with you, Karen. Moving it forward, though, in a way that we're thoughtful about it, so when it goes to the council, they can see we fully vetted. I mean, if I'm a council member, I would ask, what are the rules gonna be for dogs there? And we don't have that.
No, there was one on the film of the rules they made, and I think we can research that. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're not making the first dog park.
No,
ever.
absolutely.
We've got a lot of dog parks out there.
Absolutely.
We could make it like Love's and just have a wooden fence around, but I think we owe it more to our dogs and our community to do what's right and to do it as soon as possible.
Yep, I think that's the biggest point is that dog park funded in 2027 was put together on a CIP by myself without this commission being here. So I think what we're trying to make, just kind of like the Castlewood irrigation, that was on there before the commission came on. The commission said, you know what, we maybe need to step back and look at that before we spend this kind of money. We're just reaffirming that this is something you want to do. If majority of the commission tonight said, no, we don't want a dog park, well then Kyle and I will quit working on it. We would take that off the CIP and not spend our time dealing with it. We just wanted to reaffirm that, let's spend some time on this. To Commissioner Thiesen's point is, let's take some time. We don't have until 27, but I wrote down a whole bunch of notes, I'm sure Kyle did too, of the rules, different kind of sizes, locations, all that. We can work through that all of 2026 and then be ready with a plan in 2027 to say, we have funding, we have a plan, let's build it. Or we might at the end of it say, geez, I don't know, we've got a lot of negative stuff here. Maybe we want to push this out 5 years and, you know what I mean? Maybe there's, we've come through all the.
I want it done tomorrow.
We come through all these studies that, Don pointed out that diseases and all that, and we find some, really bad stuff that we might not want to put ourselves in that area that we would say, maybe we need to hold on this. So truly vetting it out is the important part. I think that's why this commission is here and that's why we want to do that. So as long as we have a reaffirmation that we want to spend time on this and start doing some research and looking into it, that's the direction we need tonight, and we will start plugging away and you'll see it pop up on a future commission meeting for discussion. It might just be a discussion about rules. We might spend 20 minutes talking about, here's a bunch of rules, what do you think? Or one might be just on location and size. Kyle and I might spend some time and find a whole bunch of 3 to 5 acre spots or different size spots and say, what do you think of these? And these are in the spots of the city. So I think it's a great plan to slowly do this throughout the year, and kind of like we're doing with the park tonight. We're just slowly taking a plan and bringing it from the beginning to the end instead of just making a rash decision. The only reason why the public works site was on there is because they needed to know, should we keep it in the plans or should we just take it off the plans? It doesn't, to his point too, it's not that it's gone, it's just not in their plans anymore.
Well, I think you heard consensus from the group here tonight, Dave and Kyle. So,
And I will just note, with that airport space, that crash A landing, the deal is that the city does not allow for any structure or tree to be constructed, altered, maintained, or allowed to grow in that airspace. So that's what ultimately, and like Karen mentioned, to have a congregation of people there. So if in that airport space that was brought up in December, if we can't put a fence up there, we can't plant trees, so you're just going to have a wide open space. That's not a dog park. So we'll have that save if it comes up in future conversations, but just a note from that too.
and Kyle, that's not, you said city, but that's actually an FAA rule, right? It's category A, I think, or something?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's, ruled by the FAA.
It's
not-
short, you don't want to hit them much.
People can walk through there, but we can't do anything to promote a gathering.
That's why that trail isn't blacktopped as well. We can't promote people walking down there. We can allow people to walk down there, but we can't create a blacktop trail through that area to promote people to use it.
Yeah, and I know that's been brought up as a place for the dog park with convenience to Fenway. I mean, I used to walk my dogs out there, so it's just can't make it, we just can't formally call it a dog park, so. But, all right. Any other comments on that? I got you almost agree all the way with me, Karen.
Yeah, it's just such a disappointment that we can't get it into this year's. Then it goes to the next year, and then it's talking a good 2 years before a dog's gonna run in that park. And
Well, that's the nice thing about that CIP, right? It's earmarked in there, and if things keep getting approved, you certainly have. It's just like Bayview Park. It was in that CIP for this upcoming 26, and we're doing that. So that's that protection of the CIP.
All right, let's move to item 11, Bayview Park Reconstruction Project.
So just as you read in the memo, We have a lot of details in regards to Bayview. We've talked about this, I think, in the December meeting as well, just to get an update of what items we were talking about putting in there. We have the proposed project timeline, and then the results from the survey that was put out in postcard to the, I think there was about just under 300 homes that postcards went out to. So we got 44 responses, which is, not, 10%, over 10%. That's, I think, the number I've heard thrown around quite a bit when you do these type of mailings. So certainly enough to say that we have pretty good numbers to have discussions. So yeah, just looking for some discussion there. And if you guys have any questions about any of that, we'll just have a discussion.
On the basketball hoop, would you either or is it either shorter or adjustable? Like, can you do that? Seems like if it's adjustable.
That would be certainly the concern. You can, there's many options you can get for these types of outdoor hoops. You can get one to set, like youth, typically you don't see it much lower than like 8 foot. Standard is 10 foot high for hoops. You can go as low as 7. The concern is the lower you go, the older kids might come and dunk, and that might break rims and stuff like that. But I would say we would look into kind of all those options and ask some of the vendors that sell the equipment, how often does it come back in broken if it is adjustable and all that. But certainly, I think when I read over those things, I think that's a good point, because we have Beltz Park that has the full court, so to certainly give maybe something that the younger kids can shoot at, I think is a good idea.
That's what I was wondering, Kyle, is if you just put shorter hoops there, and then you've got the investment at Bells with the larger hoops, and seems like that park is geared towards smaller kids in the neighborhood.
Talk about the basketball court.
Yeah, so we kind of agreed as a commission, we hit every other spot except for, did we want the basketball court to remain? Do we want green space? And I think there was if somebody had any other suggestions other than the green space or the basketball court.
We were talking about the picnic shelter, so there's a shade shelter that would be built in. I think we've discussed the porta potty item as, while certainly it might not look great, you got young kids come into the park and all of that, so, certainly to do something there, seems pretty reasonable. And we've been doing it.
Comments here. One's quite a lengthy comment. I didn't read that, but.
Person who lives next door. So,
I think it was the October or November, the commission discussed maybe moving, I think it was commission, or was that staff that discussed about moving, potential move of playground. So we could work on the playground, but keep the current one open, and then, tear it down after we have it completed, but that would mean moving it closer. So I went to the 2 houses that are on either side of the park. And the long response you see is one of those homeowners just reiterating not wanting that playground to move closer to her property line, which I think we ultimately came back and said that we got that feedback. So the layout would be very similar to what it is now, moving nothing closer to her property line for the playground. Yep.
Yes,
Large there.
absolutely. Yeah, good catch there, Melissa. All right. Dave, you got enough direction?
We just need to know the direction of if we want to go with the survey and what we think, if we want to include that basketball court in the final design that we come back with February to get your blessing to go out for bid, or if you want to stick with the green space or another that hasn't been discussed yet.
Aaron?
I think the folks that took the time to respond, when you look at the majority rules, 52% says they want a basketball hoop.
and for little kids. So and I think that it makes good sense. It's, what is that, not even a half a mile?
If you need a taller
kids are
hoop,
down
you
there
can make
playing
it the
tennis.
half mile to
Yeah, you can.
Beltz Park.
Right.
I think you got heads nodding on that. Okay.
Ask 'em and then not listen.
So, bas- no, basketball court for smaller kids.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, then we will be back in February with the final cost estimate and a kind of a concept design picture where everything's gonna be laid, and hope to get your blessing on that, and then we'll put that out for our RFP to get that still built this year and up and running by sometime in 2026.
Person.
We could surprise them if we really want to.
All right, anything else on that one? All right, item 13, hometown holiday drones.
Nope, number 12.
Basketball court, or volleyball courts.
Oh, I'm sorry,
More sports.
I'm sorry.
It's a sand volleyball court thing?
Yep. So as part of the Beltz rehab, we had to take out the volleyball courts because that new ADA ramp goes up there, and I think it was November, October, we threw out the idea was, do we not want the courts there? And it was pretty overwhelming that we wanted to keep the courts there. So internally, staff kind of worked out a layout and also trying to multi-purpose the ice rink that council or commission wanted to keep seeing the ice rink there too. So we tried to design where we could put volleyball courts where the ice rink is. So in the winter, you can flood the sand and have an ice rink. In the summertime, at sand courts, we can utilize the lights that light up the rinks in winter and actually be able to light up the volleyball courts during the summer months. Kind of took all that in consideration, attached to kind of a map of where we're thinking they would go, and give you a rough cost estimate of what that would cost. This would qualify for park dedication dollars because you'd be creating that new structure, buying new infrastructure for this, volleyball courts. So what we're really looking for, Ned, is what do you think of the layout? What do you think of the idea? And would you feel strongly recommending that $14,000 be estimated, $14,000 being spent to put this together?
Must be a little kid's baseball thing.
I think it's used as kind of like a backup space, but no traveling leagues or anything will use it for a game space. I think they'll use it for their really, 8-year-olds. And we're gonna maybe test it out and running a kickball for adults. But I think we'll look at that determination. I think the GIS 130 feet or something we were thinking, which would be plenty of space for small. We're not using it for official games, so certainly that field would still be able to be used for anything that it's currently being used for.
So the goal would try to be to get it located where the proposed parking lot could have been or might be at some point. We're trying to keep it out of the way of that, so that could be built at some point if it needs to be. We're trying to shift it as far to the northwest to get as much outfield to Kyle mentioned. Our goal is to try to get it to 150 feet, and that's a pretty standard little kid ball field. And then stay away from Kieran's favorite hole in the ground there too. So we're trying to hit in the middle of that, but still make it functional.
But you took out my favorite of, I don't like squeezing everything in, save that spot for maybe a parking lot down the road. It's never been a popular item, a parking lot there. I know it's a problem. Right now, there were 2 young people at the skating rink. I think that whole ice thing is a problem now that they can't get up to the road on their cars and watch the kids when it was warming house open, when there's no one there, weather's been bad, not keeping it open, then they're gonna freeze to death. So I'm not so sure that I'm ready yet to say that that sand volleyball court doesn't go exactly where it was before and well used. Problems down the line with that space, but always been from people I've talked to in other commissions, want to keep that space open for park, not parking. So I wouldn't be in favor of the layout. But I'm very much in favor of bringing that back. We had promised them that too. It's not going away, it's just gonna be later. So I would really like to see the volleyball court back at Beltz.
Where would you like to see it if it's,
I would still like to see it where it was.
you can't go there because that's where the pedestrian ramp is. That's why we had to get rid of it in the first place, because there's a ramp there that goes up to the playground.
Doesn't show, the picture doesn't show the ramp.
Talked about this, I was told we couldn't because we wanted to make sure if we're gonna make it a forever, we're gonna do something more on the base. If we were just talking about maybe, we could just put it up and just have it like it was before. So I never heard that it was in the way of anything.
Are we talking about the ice rink or are we talking about the volleyball court?
Volleyball. Oh,
Well, it makes sense to have that piece of land be double duty. Sand in the summer and ice in the winter.
I love the using the
And it's, with the lights too, right? That's a benefit of having them together no matter what. And then Ken say, and, certainly public works staff that spend a lot of time on those rinks would say like Beltz is pretty rough just with the ground. It's unlevel. So if you double up with the rink being with the sand, you have a nice level ground for flooding, and then you get a way better consistent freeze too. Versus we have some boils that pop up through Beltz, and the ice typically is the first to, out of the three rinks, this one goes away the fastest with the warm weather. So certainly for the usage of the rink, those two should go hand in hand, just with the space, but
Your liners.
was saved because, again, it's the only neighborhood little spot that people can go with their kids and play. And now if you're thinking something the adults, and I'm playing sand volleyball, and I got people hitting baseballs behind. From a standpoint of saving money, it probably is good, and maybe, I just can't see the two. But I'm only one vote, so that's okay.
Any other comments? There is a motion that staff has recommended to us. Based on all the factors you've looked at, Dave, this is the best place that you think for it. As you put in your memo, I'm just,
I know it looks like it's condensed, but it's done for that reason, so you do preserve that large green space on the other side. If you put the volleyball courts over there, all of a sudden now you've just taken a 100 by 100 chunk of green space and put a volleyball court in it. I understand it looks like we're trying to jam everything in one spot, but we are kind of trying to preserve as much green space. It's kind of a worthless spot, not a worthless spot, but a spot that we can get this there, we can save all that green space on the, the northeast corner.
football game, and you're not saving that entire corner for a huge parking lot. The parking lot would be the same size as it was.
It's just
The
that,
ice rink, and the green space would stay in that corner.
it's a 16 spot lot that's basically where the trail runs. You just would add 20 feet on both sides to create parking stalls. So you would still keep that, trying to keep as much green space as possible. And or there might be some other great idea that comes along the line that we want to add this to an amenity at Beltz Park. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and the more stuff you add, you're probably going to want to say we're probably going to have some parking here too. So we just don't want to build something over top of that and go, okay, well, now we got to move the volleyball court 50 feet to put in something. We're just trying to strategically think of where to put things without having to do things twice. Just like moving the volleyball court, we really don't want to have to move it again.
Still have, as far as the sand volleyball, we had a citizen come forward with a great plan. I guess sand volleyball has leagues and great opportunity to share with us. We all loved your report. It went nowhere. But again, if we would do something like that, it might be that we want to have a little bit more private space for that. I mean, I just think if we're going to talk about things, we should talk about things a little bit more than just putting it there and saving. We've been saving that green space, and I know the only conversation I've heard is from the city's standpoint is parking lot. And all the other community people I've heard about is they'd like more park amenities there. So again, I don't want to you go along with whatever you do, but like squishing that together and then, or what, I don't know, but I would like to get that, if we still have it available, her report.
I actually did watch that report. It was several years back, but she had mentioned, upwards of like 4 to 8 courts for the tournaments. They wouldn't be able to do any tournaments there. It would be, if there was only 2 courts, they could just do their practices. Certainly, what we see in the recreation world is if you have like a sand volleyball court that's used for leagues or tournaments, typically it's partnered with like a Split Rocks where they have 8 volleyball courts up there with the bar and restaurant. So that's kind of, certainly we are open to those ideas because that's recreation programming, but it's just kind of knowing that it would be ideal to be able to say we would do it, but I don't know that it would be a great spot just with the limited parking alone. So certainly we can revisit that because I think, we want to vet out those opportunities for sure if they come. But I know, the other challenge about if you move that court to the north further back where it was before, and we would want to double it as the rink. Now you're getting away from the warming house and then, having to have some sort of additional light set up. So I think with staff, we're pretty set on best practice for us would be to put that rink with the court. Just with even just the level ground alone would make it a lot better for us. With that flooding process, so.
Is that set in stone with the warming house where it's at? It's a small building, so I don't know because if, instead of having the rink there and the volleyball court right there, if you moved it to that green space, that's currently green space now, and then now you have a lot of green space with the field, you're still keeping green space, you're just moving where that green space is located.
Cost of moving the
I was
warming house,
just gonna say, it's not just moving, but yeah, that's,
power and all that good stuff.
Which is not really planned for at this time, I don't think, for funding, but certainly something to think about.
Karen?
Because I thought we had discussed when we first started up the commission, how potentially that corner was gonna be a like multi-purpose hockey rink with basketball courts and other stuff potentially.
that was way back in the one of the first master plans or
So that got
rendition.
completely scrapped.
Yep. And that the warming house was gonna get torn down and become a year-round, a place you could rent plus heated bathrooms and all that with a warming house tied into it, and it was just too expensive, and that kind of got kicked off of that grant and that program. So, just to be fair, when we asked these questions, right, we asked, do you really want a volleyball court here? The answer is yes. Is this location you want a volleyball court? Yes. Is this really where you want an ice rink? Yes. So we're trying to put it in there. There's multiple places to put this. If we want to look at a place where you can put 4 volleyball courts, this park wouldn't be the place. If that's what we want to do, we would have to go and look and find other areas. We're just trying to stay within kind of what we got told is, yes, we want a pleasure rink for kids to stay here and for as long as everybody wants, and we want to bring the rinks back. So then we just try to dual purpose that with saying, we might as well put in 2 volleyball courts because that would be the size of a rink. So you can actually have 2 courts instead of 1, and then you can dual purpose everything. But if that's not what we want to do, then that's fine. We can say we don't want any of them here. We want to do this somewhere else. We're just kind of following what staff was told to look into.
I will say that these particular volleyball courts are more about pickup games, and this is where the kids who are on leagues, they go to get to know each other outside of their regular practice times. That's what I was told by a volleyball gal that came to the Rotary, that that's where they make their friendships, their bonding is at that court in this park. So, and nothing better than driving past that park and seeing a pickup game, being out there playing volleyball. So, I would just like to see them back there, and I think using the dual to me makes sense.
For the
Okay,
cost
Sue?
of 14,000, that's.
Okay. Karen?
My last comment was, we had talked about moving that ice rink altogether, and you were gonna do. Are we done with discussing that that maybe isn't the best?
I think the general consensus was, yeah, that rink was preferred to be there. But yeah, we do have, we staff the warming houses 7 days a week. Of course, this year it's been all over the map with warm weather, and then now we have cold weather coming, of course, too. But the warming house staff, they do document every night. Part of that conversation was, yeah, Beltz numbers are very low. The rinks, is it 1,000 hours per rink? So about 1,000 hours of man time, labor time goes into those rinks. So it's looking at, yeah, just certainly Beltz Park might just be that place where we always have a skating rink. That's fine, but it's just to say we have a lot of resource that goes into that. To only have 20 to 35 people show up a week, yeah, it's a great spot and we love it there, but is it, when we're seeing Tower, certainly there's 2 rinks at Tower and it's hockey, it's more popular, but we're seeing 200 plus a week, if not more now, this year when we've been open. So it's just kind of saying, yeah, and those discussions did happen at one point in time, and I think the idea was just keep seeing, what the attendance was like with consistent opening, so it's hard with bad weather, but those discussions in my mind, I think are still on the table, and certainly it could be something where maybe we're unsure about the courts, just to kind of summarize this report, and we've spent quite a bit of time on it. We can maybe think another month or come at it with a different angle. I don't know what you suggest.
Yeah, we're looking for direction, so.
So I think there's,
We came
so
back with.
somebody want to make a motion that on this?
I mean, they had volleyball courts before we did the updates to Beltz Park, and now they don't. So, for me, I'm fine with it.
I just
And
think-
it makes sense to have the sand for a nice base to be able to put down your hockey rink with the liner and not have to worry about the issues you're seeing currently. Right, but it's on
I'm
the skating
comfortable
rink.
with
It's where I
making a
taught my
motion.
kids.
Okay,
I wanna do it.
Melissa, you want to make a motion?
I make a motion to recommend that the city council approves installation of the new volleyball court at Beltz Park using the dedication funding.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Aaron, second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. All right, thanks, everyone. Now we'll get to a fun one, hometown holiday drones.
So, just with events with city programming, that's always in the back of staff's mind, my mind, I should say, that, every year grow it a little bit, make it a little bit better, draw some attraction to an event. And this is just an idea that came up, with some opportunity. There's several cities that have added or have been doing like a fireworks show as part of their Christmas tree lighting. Certainly could be a great event to look at as a draw for the community. We get pretty good attendance down there already, so it's not to say that we have to do something very drastic, but certainly could be looked at as a good overall community ad for an event, ran through parks. And certainly fireworks the 4th of July it's big, right? It draws a lot of people into the city. So it's just to say, do we want to take a chance and do some more research on something like this? It certainly comes at a cost, but it could be unique. How many people have seen a drone fireworks show? And so just could be kind of that thing where it gets people talking about Forest Lake, come to the parks and see our event. It's certainly, again, it's a take a shot up high. It's not everyone's doing it type of thing either. It's just an idea that we wanted to throw by the commission, and I'll work on getting a little video clip up that I had just to kind of give a visual, but certainly open up discussion, ask questions. Yeah, $17,000 for a 12-minute show.
And here you say drone show or fireworks.
Yeah, you know how they're coordinated and they'll light up into design in the sky?
What it meant when it was a dividing, it was one or the other. Either you get a drone show or you get fireworks.
Fireworks, yeah.
Like a fireworks show that's happening with drones instead of fireworks.
We're talking about actually.
We're not in the
drones.
or.
So the drones themselves light up and it
It
looks like.
would be a,
He has a pretty good video, if you can get it loaded up, where they can kind of visually see what
So it wouldn't be, this is a large drone. It obviously is a larger city display, but what the drones do is they basically act as fireworks, right? They produce images into the sky. They can, you can see they can move. You can do like logos. You can, do Santa Claus with snowmen, with reindeer, and I mean, they can kind of do whatever you want. You get to design the show. It's all based on the numbers of drones. So if there's 100, it's a little less details. If there's 500, there's way more details. Of course, 500 drones cost a lot more than 100, and that would be kind of the category we're in. But just maybe an opportunity for parks to go out and even work with maybe some community partnerships, maybe some sponsorship opportunities, just to see if businesses want to try to, again, 4th of July, we have a huge draw of people. This could be kind of that winter draw, Christmas tree lighting, we put a lot of time and effort into that, so try to get as many people down there and get some excitement. One downside of it is if you do it one year, you probably are looking at doing it expected, to do it year after year, and trying to keep up with that can be tough. But just wanted to throw out there a different idea and see how the commission felt about, it's not a let's go book, but just spend time looking into it, or maybe something for down the road.
Okay.
I do think that the hometown holiday, it would be a good addition. We need to amp it up a little bit down there. I mean, it's a good draw right now, but we do need to amp it up.
It's time too to talk to different community people about what they, or maybe what they could even do.
And I bet
But
you'd
when
get
I
a
think
lot
of
of,
fireworks, I think, boom, these are pictures, right?
Yeah, they're images. There's audio. There's audio that can go with that. They can kind of give a firework, but that would be the thing, is we could talk about a fireworks show as well. That's common. It's just the challenge of typically the fireworks are shot off from the lake. So that time of year, you're running a big risk of planting fireworks if it's frozen, yeah.
debris in the lake.
Yep, so,
Drones will draw just as many views as the fireworks.
Kind of another level, yeah.
Could we also say what other alternatives could we use $17,000 for to make it a good party too? I mean, is there other options? Because like to your point, that's a short show.
yep,
And that's a big bang.
yep.
So I mean, that big
think,
bang, can it do more stuff handed out? Like we're doing the hot chocolate stuff, and, more kids' toys and more stuff like that for people to actually go do rather than sit and wait for a 12-minute show.
I think people would like that show. And I bet you could get some businesses to donate money too.
Sponsor, yeah.
That's kind of where we don't necessarily have this budgeted for 26. It's just kind of an idea to run off and say, maybe we get some excitement around it, talk to businesses, see if they want to, do a joint venture and sharing some costs. We do have sponsors for that event already, that do give for the Santa, some other, the events, the entertainment, the tree lighting itself. So there's already some sponsorship going on there, but certainly maybe some more to seek. And I know there's always people that check in with us to say, is there more that you guys do that we can sponsor? But more so just an opportunity to say, hey, do we want to pursue it and see? And maybe we get a really negative feedback on it and not for this year. And we say, okay, we don't have the budget anyways per se. But yeah, we can certainly look into some other ideas too. It just was kind of like the go big idea here and see kind of how you guys receive that.
Doing it like right there or anything, like will we be almost like embarrassed to do it? That's
yeah.
the sweet spot, really
Yep.
do that. And then
I don't-
draw people in.
I don't know of any cities that have done a drone show. There's, as far as like our scale, right? You get like big cities down in Texas and stuff like that, or, Kansas cities and all that. But as far as like our size of city, I don't know of any. Like I said, there are some fireworks. And that was kind of the idea of this, is maybe it's something different where people go a drone show and want to check that out. So that was kind of part of the idea. I can't say I've confidently looked into all the, cities around us, but for the most part, vetting out what people are doing for their holiday parties, I can say I haven't seen anything like that.
Kyle, my only comment is, it's an interesting idea, but, every month, something new is coming here for you to work on. And I don't want to manage your time, but you also there's only so much you can do in a year, right?
Yep.
And you and Dave, I think I'd prefer that whatever we do it really, really well and not a lot of stuff halfway. We got the Go Fish, we got the farmer's market that's kicking off. So I know research maybe not take a lot of time, but I would just ask you to be cognizant of that, is that every time something new comes up, as you said, now it'll go forever. Just got to be careful how much we try to chew off and make sure what we do is just excellent versus just partial. And we just talked about doing more work on the dog park, right? So I just raised that, and our job is not to manage your time, but we need to respect it when we give you direction, so.
Okay, absolutely.
All right, so I think you got some head nodding with what I just said. If you can do, if it works, explore it, so. All right. And another new item, city hunting regulation, item 14.
So again, just another item to discuss here with park usage. There's a lot of opportunities that you get with other cities for hunting, and right now Forest Lake doesn't really. We kind of it's a gray area right now, and the answer is no a lot of the times. So it's been brought up enough that we feel like we should just bring it up to discuss. We don't have a good hunting ordinance involved. Certainly, you do see, especially in areas like ours where we're kind of suburb, kind of rural, where hunting is done often, and not everyone has good access to do it. So it could certainly be done safely, and there's a lot of ordinance and regulations around that. A lot of planning with not just parks, it's PD, it's multiple departments, Public Works. So it's one of those things just to, again, get a feel for the commission on, maybe some thoughts, some questions that you guys would have around that. Is it something to maybe put into the 27 bucket? We're just trying to get it on the map to discuss. Certainly, again, as Chair Tyson said, we can't do everything all at once, but it's just to start that discussion, knowing that residents do call quite often, especially in the fall, September, October, when specifically the deer season comes around, and some bird hunting comes in too. So just to look at that, a lot of times it said no hunting in parks, period, no exceptions, but it's certainly a typical option that you do see with parks. Yep, it would be archery only for like public land spaces. That'd be part of the regulation. Captain Hanegraaff and myself have talked about it a couple times, and basically what's discussed is that it can be done, but it just needs to have some time to spend on it. So there's an openness to discussing on the PD side of things too.
High school now. About hunting, so I have to step back.
So there's no ordinance at all when it comes to hunting on park or public lands around town?
So specifically to hunting, correct, there's no ordinance for parks. There's regulation on zoning of where you can and can't hunt, but that doesn't really pertain to the public space. I think it's how the ordinance is, it just says that a weapon can be discharged, but when people do come to us to ask about hunting on city-owned property, the answer's been no.
I know there's been a lot of comments about the duck hunting season, because you hear a lot of across the lake and stuff. There's a lot of people that post, they're asking questions, what's going on. And
Yep.
so if there's any regulatory effort on that, or it's just, you got a license, you go out on lake and shoot the ducks? some people might be concerned about that.
There's, the DNR regulations, right? And that everyone has to follow that, and that's first and foremost. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly just to vet out a lot of details about that in general, would be probably a good idea.
We are talking about city parks, and city-owned land. Somebody has a acreage in the private land out in the zoning allows that they can hunt. I wouldn't support hunting on city parks. I think it's a slippery slope and it's gonna cause more issues and problems, and let's keep our parks focused on recreation. It's an enforcement issue, it's gonna be an operational issue. So as one member, I'd be hard pressed to say we should have city hunting on city parks.
You say city parks, what I'm trying to wrap my head around, like, where would this be,
Parks are belts.
right?
City-owned
Yes.
land
We just
also.
talked about Beltz Park and volleyball
Yeah.
courts, and now we're talking about hunting in a park. So I'm trying to understand, because like you said, you drive down 97, we're very rural, so
Yep.
I don't know what land area you are talking or referring to.
There, it would be, you look at a system and you would figure out which parks would support it, right? So like Coolin Camp, you have some wooded areas that are butted up to some
So we're
wetland.
actually saying city parks then.
Yep, and certainly, yeah, like Beltz Park, absolutely not. Fenway Park, absolutely not, but, some of those other areas that have some space, typically we shut down parks, October 15th is kind of when we shut down systems. So you'd look at saying, okay, you'd have a hunting season start October 20th and run, so on and so forth, and so, yeah. So it would be not just wide open, it'd be very specific. I think in the past, we've had people hunting in like Bigsby, Coolin Camp, as mentioned. People have tried to hunt along like the airport and Fenway areas and stuff like that. So some of those areas that have larger space, people have tried, or people do cross that boundary, but just certainly getting the general feedback to say, yeah, we don't really support that, makes it easier to build that ordinance down the road.
More of the wooded area,
City
I
park.
can see where somebody would want to
Well,
sit
there's
and do a bow
houses in
hunting.
close proximity to most of these parks,
Bow
But
hunting.
if it's bow hunting, I suppose.
I would say if there's more opportunity to look at city-owned land that's truly rural and opening that up to hunting, then I would say yes. But a city park, to me, is no. Because then you get into timing and you got the one guy who's like, well, I'm early, I'm an overachiever. Well, you still got kids playing.
I was gonna say that have is permitted or bow hunting.
Yeah, and there might be options for city-owned property versus parks, but back to Commissioner Tyson's comment before of using our time wisely, this is in the category of a lot of work and and it's not just, the work would start when you said, yeah, we support hunting on city parks, because then there's ordinances, and then figuring out which parks you can and can't, and acreage, and then which zoning areas, and then you'd have to modify the old city ordinance, and really, you would be removed from this, and then it would become a city council staff discussion, and
Well,
and that's, if the commission tonight said, we fully support this, is something we really want to look into, I think that it's an underutilized activity in our park system that people aren't able to have clear direction on being able to hunt a deer in a city park, then it's a use of valuable time. If the consensus is, yeah, this isn't important on our radar, and I don't think it's really that great of an idea, then we worry about when somebody else brings up hunting on public land, and then we'd be asking the commission to comment on, would you ever consider allowing them hunting on city parks? I guess is kind of what we're
Spend
looking.
our time trying to get a dog park. We can't be spending our time on hunting.
First
Well,
things
and
first.
it's far and few between the parks where they could hunt, so I don't see where this would be a great use of your.
you guys got direction on this then?
perfect, yep.
Okay, all right. All right, let's see, make sure I don't miss one here. Number 15, Forest Lake Area Athletic Association Concession Operations Agreement. We have amendment to the agreement.
So yeah, the agreement, we did add just a piece in there to say the city would shut down by the second week in November. I think there was just a little miscue with city staff and FLAAA about the shutting down of the concessions where, you know, getting all like the pop out of there and everything. So just nothing that was a big deal, but just gives a really clear outline of, hey, we're going to shut this down, just so FLAAA also knows this is when to be out of there by, and then we're coming in to winterize and shut everything down. And that was something else that FLAAA had been doing, is they had been winterizing, and this just, again, highlights that the city's gonna be doing that. So we didn't have that in the original, that you guys had a recommended approval on. And then I also have the, revenue and expense report as well that I will pull up and share with you guys. I didn't add it in the report. I will say I forgot to add this as an attachment, so I apologize for that. Cindy, I didn't see you sneak in there. I apologize. I just looked over there. Cindy, the FLAAA treasurer, this is just an overview of the profit and loss statement provided by FLAAA, just to show that the revenue and expenses of the concessions out there. So FLAAA does have to staff it. It's very difficult to manage with volunteers, and understandably so. There's certifications for food safety and then making sure people show up and are reliable.
Thank you for that.
We have no problem with this. It just, our information.
Yep, just because part of the agreement, we do kind of put in there that they'll provide this to us upon request, which I think we'll request every year, just for full transparency, no questions asked, just so everyone's aware of, you know, the concessions, operations, just like what we do with Foursome, when we ask them for a month-to-month statement. But yeah, I mean, no concerns on staff side.
Yeah, it was brought purely as informational because the recommendation, and you did approve this or recommended approval of this, said that the council needed to see that we want to approve it. They didn't recommend approving it until they saw the P&L statement. Since we had to go in there and modify the agreement, we figured we'd bring it back for you, so then you got some eyes on it too. So
Closing down, that was an agreement with FLAAA as well, closing down.
it was agreed upon. I think it was a miscommunication, like Kyle said. We're in there doing some maintenance work right now, remodeling the bathrooms, and we noticed that the heat was on in the concession stand, so it's been blowing in 0-degree weather, trying to keep that concession stand at 60 degrees. So we kind of thought that maybe they kept it heated all winter long, so then we'd have to really negotiate our utilities, because that's how they were paying for it. But it turns out they didn't know that it wasn't on either, so we changed it to that we're going to be shutting it down. We're going to make sure the power's off. So I think it's just, to Kyle's point, it's clearly written in the agreement who does what now, instead of, so we don't end up with this again where it's just heating an area where nobody's at.
So highlighted in yellow is the addition to this agreement from the last time we approved this, so.
Correct.
Somebody like to make a motion to recommend approval of the City of Forest Lake Concessions Operations Agreement?
Bill motion.
Aaron moves,
Second.
Sue seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right.
All right,
Okay.
staff. Oh, sorry.
Nope, sorry, no, keep rolling, Kyle.
Yep, just some staff updates. One thing that came up, an opportunity, if the Parks Commission can just do a real brief, there's a Lakes Area Expo, hosted by the Chamber. There's been discussion about the city having, you know, a spot at that expo, if we'd like to kind of highlight that. If that's something, that this commission would like us to vet out, we can certainly do that and bring it back next month to discuss the options, but it would just be to get in front of people. I think that's a pretty popular event, and just a good time to get out in front of, you know, it's technically, I think, held at Maranatha. I don't know if that's where they're going. But just an opportunity to get out there in front of people if the commission would like to do that. So just real quick, if you guys have any feedback, I can just bring it back as a report in February too.
I think it's an excellent idea. Anytime you get in front of the public and they can ask their questions, it's a good idea. There's a lot of people go through there, lots.
Got heads nodding on that one.
Yeah.
Wanted to talk about outdoor rinks, just a quick update. We've been opening, closing, but the public works staff has spent a lot of time getting those rinks ready when they can. We're very fortunate early on. They spent a lot of time, as public works staff spent a lot of time getting those rinks prepped. We were having ice while other rinks weren't even flooding yet, and we're able to get going a couple weeks early. And then obviously the warm weather kind of shut us down, but we're kind of back up and running. Looks like Friday, we're gonna have a cold weather shutdown. It's gonna be 45 below with wind chill. So just a heads up, just wanted to do an update. Things are going great. Ice is great when we've been open. The Hockey Association has just been super appreciative of having the extra ice. So everything's going well with that. Farmer market, staff is continuing to work on that. I'll be meeting with White Bear staff, who they've ran a market for a long time and a really successful one. They were more than happy to say, we have a lot of vendors that apply that we can't take. They will certainly send them our way with recommendations if they use them before or not. We're training on software, this new software for scheduling, park programming, a lot of cool stuff that we'll have access right at our fingertips and will help with some efficiencies with the scheduling of facilities. That's, I think I've had 2 trainings on that. It's third one next week. Arts in the Park, we're to the point where we've accepted or approved many vendors. We had a total of 90 applicants between the wait list and the current or the on-time application. So we're getting to the point where we're getting handbook agreements out and back, and then we'll start invoicing. So kind of that question of when we're going to be billing, we'll probably start sending out invoices the middle of February. So it's about the time, what we kind of anticipated. But that's well on its way, and hopefully we'll be done, wrapped up with all those details by the end of March. Master Plan Steering Committee, we had our second meeting. Definitely a lot of items being thrown our way with that, but it's been all pretty good and rolling. We have one resident now who has stepped into being on that steering committee. We'd like one more if possible, but for the most part, I think everyone that you guys suggested to have on that steering committee is in place, minus the one out of 2 residents. So that's been going good. Yep, and there'll be, I believe it's gonna be on park dedication study fees, or park dedication fees is what's gonna be. Oh, yeah, Josh with Bolton and Mink will be attending in February to come with a update on that, where we're at with that master plan. Let's Go Fishing, they started bringing volunteers with signups. The high school fishing team they anticipate 80-plus students, and the high school coach actually is making it a requirement that every kid spends at least one day volunteering for that program. So kind of a cool tie-in, and very appreciative of that coach doing that. Community guide flyer, I don't know if you guys are familiar or not with that catalog that goes out, but we're gonna have a Arts in the Park and a farmer's market ad in that flyer. And that should be going out, I think, sometime in February. And then we're also, Veterans Memorial. We have 20-plus pavers being ordered already, that the deadline's in March, and typically we've only seen like 8 to 10 of those pavers being ordered, so certainly a lot more attention now that that project is underway. So I think we were at 21 orders as of today, and we have pretty much a month and a half left to go for that deadline. So that's kind of just a quick summary for what I got.
Dave, anything?
You said it all.
Okay,
I have a,
yep, go around the table here, Sue.
oh, do you mind? if I'll
No,
jump in?
absolutely not.
Given that we've got the 250th anniversary of the country coming up this July 4th, are there any plans for Park Commission or the city to coordinate any efforts with the Legion about events and stuff like that?
That's a good question. I mean, it's not our event, so we coordinate with them. I would assume they're already having their initial planning stages. I believe we typically require them to come back to us at least 3 months before the event, if not sooner, to kind of give us an outlay of what their plans are, how they're asking us to assist. with different or newer things that we haven't done before. I think then we'd probably get some ideas then. I would assume they're gonna tie in that 250th.
Yeah, if we could maybe get some kind of effort there to be, kind of find effort for this one time, might be a good deal.
I know the city has an agreement with the Legion where we share costs of fireworks. So I mean, that's how we do, share some of those costs, but I know the city is heavily involved with resources of like safety. Public Works comes down and does a full sweep of Lakeside, so that's a lot of our resource that we put into that. So certainly we can, vet out some other conversations with, event planning, but there's a lot of discussion with PD support and fire support, Public Works support. It's a lot of man hours that go into that whole event, and that's kind of our resource shared into that. But certainly to your point, with it being kind of a special year, you can certainly kind of vet out some conversations.
Melissa, anything?
Spring fling again, I would really like to see it, or do something with that, something like we've done in the past, or maybe get the city help with that, fired up about it. Really be nice to, I wish it could even be part of, we used to do at like a winter fest or something like that. Stores to be being a part of the celebrations with, specials all over town.
Aaron? Aaron?
Don't disappoint all the people that are excited that we're talking about. We can't bring it up enough. We can't tell our community that we have not listened to them. Items coming or keep the dog park alive, it would be really good to the community, because I'm gonna hear a lot of stuff about, you mean we're not doing it now?
Oh, I think it's still alive, right?
I think we heard loud and clear that we want to go full steam ahead with putting this together, so
I mean,
I think you'll hear from us sooner than later.
It's on the calendars.
Yeah. And Karen, it never was gonna be this year, so.
Well, we could, as if we said we could move that.
No.
and they'd have to
Well, the
let
Public
something-
Works was
No,
2027.
the Public Works project's not till 2028.
But remember, we sat here and said, if you wanted to be quicker, we'd have to tell you that we're not gonna do some of the other stuff on there. And conversation about, we put it into this one, but we have to. So, just saying.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
So,
Just
okay,
tell my community we.
it's gonna happen. Did more than
Get
try,
there.
it's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
we'll get there.
So, all right, just for the other members, Karen and I were at the January 12th council meeting. Kyle presented the annual report. Our parks that he did email at everybody, and we thank the council for their support and residents, and certainly staff, especially Kyle, in getting that $200,000 plus grant for that excellent memorial that's coming next summer. So council was thanked us for all of our work, and they know we're excited about 2026. So with that, motion to adjourn.
I'll
Somebody,
make a motion to adjourn.
okay,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned, and safe travels home, everyone.